I arrived at the family auto repair shop at 6 in the morning, just like I had for the past 8 years. I unlocked the door with my key, but it did not work. Confused, I tried again. Nothing. I walked around back and found my toolbox, my desk, and all my personal belongings piled in cardboard boxes in the parking lot. A new lock gleamed on the back door. My phone buzzed. A text from my father. "We need to talk. Your sister is taking over. Do not come back to the shop." I stood there in the parking lot, staring at that text message for what felt like an eternity. The morning sun was barely up, casting long shadows across the concrete. My hands shook as I read the words again. "Your sister is taking over. Do not come back." The cardboard boxes sat there like grave markers for everything I had built. I loaded the boxes into my truck, my mind racing. This had to be some kind of mistake, some miscommunication. Amanda taking over? My little sister who had never changed oil in her life? It made no sense. I drove straight to my parents' house. The 15-minute drive felt like hours. I kept replaying conversations in my head, searching for clues I might have missed. Had there been signs? Had they been planning this? My mother, Barbara, opened the door. She would not look at me. Her eyes stayed fixed on the porch floor, her hands twisting the dish towel she was holding. "Mom, what's going on? Your father wants to talk to you. He's in the kitchen." I walked past her, my heart pounding. My father, Robert, sat at the kitchen table, with legal documents spread out in front of him. He looked older than I remembered, his shoulders slumped, his face tight. "Sit down, Quincy. I'll stand. What's happening? Why was I locked out?" He took a deep breath. "Amanda is the new owner of Harrison Auto Repair. We transferred the business to her 3 months ago." The words hit me like a physical blow. 3 months ago? I've been working there every day, 60-hour weeks. "You've been lying to me for 3 months?" "We were waiting for the right time to tell you," my mother said from the doorway. "The right time? The right time was 3 months ago. The right time was before you gave away the business I built." My father's jaw tightened. "We didn't give away anything. It's a family business. We're restructuring for the future." "Restructuring?" I could barely control my voice. "Dad, I saved that shop. 8 years ago, when I was 23, you were 2 months from bankruptcy. 2 mechanics, 50 customers, bills piling up. I came in and turned everything around. We know what you did, son. Do you? Do you know I expanded from 2 bays to 6? That I grew the customer base to over 300 regular clients? That I trained all 5 mechanics personally? That I built relationships with every parts supplier in the county?" "Amanda has a business degree," my mother said quietly. "She has fresh ideas." I turned to her. "Fresh ideas?" "Mom, she got that degree online from some diploma mill. She's worked at 6 different retail jobs in the last 4 years. She's never stayed anywhere longer than 6 months. She's your sister," my father said. "We need to give her a chance." "A chance? A chance at what? Running a successful business into the ground? That's not fair, Quincy. You're being cruel." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm being cruel?" I took no salary for the first 2 years. I reinvested every penny back into the shop. I slept in the office some nights because I couldn't afford gas to drive home. "And now you're handing it to Amanda because she has a degree?" My father stood up. "This is about being fair to both our children. Amanda needs this opportunity. And what about me? What about 8 years of my life? You'll be fine. You're capable. You can work anywhere." The casual dismissal of everything I had sacrificed cut deeper than any of the rest. "Did Amanda tell you I was planning to sell the shop? Is that what she said?" My mother's eyes flickered. That was answer enough. She lied. I never said anything like that. "She told us you complained about being trapped in a dead-end garage," my father said. "That's a complete lie. I love that shop. It's my life's work." "Well, it's Amanda's now," my father said. "The paperwork is done. She's the sole legal owner." What about my ownership stake? I've been working there for 8 years. Your name was never on any paperwork, Quincy. It was always the family business. We owned it. The reality crashed down on me. I had nothing. No ownership, no stake, no legal claim. I had trusted them completely, and they had used that trust against me. Where is Amanda? I want to talk to her. She's not available right now, my mother said. Not available? She just stole my business and she's not available? Nobody stole anything. My father snapped. Stop being dramatic. This is still a family business. Amanda wants to modernize things, bring in new systems. You can still work there if you want. Work there? Work for Amanda? She's willing to keep you on. She values your technical skills. I stared at him. They really did not understand. They really thought this was reasonable. I need to go. Quincy, please, my mother said, tears forming. This is tearing the family apart. No, Mom. You tore it apart. You and Dad made that choice 3 months ago, when you decided I wasn't worth being honest with. I walked out. My father called after me, telling me to be supportive, to give it time, but I kept walking. I got in my truck and drove away, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. That night I tried calling Amanda 17 times. She never answered. I sent texts. Nothing. My parents had made their decision, and my sister had convinced them of lies I never spoke. I had built that shop from almost nothing, and now I had nothing again. 2 weeks passed in a blur. I could barely sleep, barely eat. The betrayal consumed me. But I had bills to pay and a life to live, so I started looking for work. Paul Davidson owned Davidson Motors across town, a respectable shop with a solid reputation. I had met him at industry events over the years. He knew my work, knew what I had accomplished at Harrison Auto. When I walked into his office, he smiled and shook my hand. Quincy Harrison, I heard you left the family business. Their loss, my gain. We talked for an hour. He offered me a job as lead mechanic on the spot. Good pay, benefits, room to grow. It felt like a lifeline. I won't let you down, Paul. I know you won't. You've got the best reputation in the county. Start Monday. I walked out feeling hopeful for the first time since finding those boxes in the parking lot. Maybe this was actually a blessing. Maybe I could finally build something that was truly mine. I found an apartment. Nothing fancy but clean and safe. I started moving my life forward. The pain was still there, but at least I had direction again. Monday morning at Davidson Motors felt good. The mechanics were professional. The equipment was well maintained. The customers were respectful. I threw myself into the work, grateful for the distraction. By the end of the first week, something unexpected started happening. Former clients from Harrison Auto were calling me. They had heard where I went. They started bringing their cars to Davidson Motors specifically to have me work on them. Mrs. Henderson brought in her sedan. I don't trust anyone else with this car, Quincy. You're the only one who knows it. Mr. Rodriguez came in with his pickup. Amanda tried to charge me twice what you quoted for a brake job. I told her no thanks. The Campbell family, the Torres family, the Williamson family. One by one, my clients found me. People I had built relationships with over 8 years. They followed me because they trusted my work. Paul noticed. You're bringing in a lot of business, Quincy. This is working out even better than I hoped. I felt something I had not felt in weeks. Pride. I was rebuilding. I was moving forward. On my 3rd week at Davidson Motors, during a busy Tuesday afternoon, a man in a cheap suit walked into the shop. He looked around, spotted me, and walked over. Quincy Harrison? That's me. He handed me a legal envelope. You've been served. My stomach dropped. I opened the envelope right there in the bay. The lawsuit papers felt heavy in my hands. Amanda was suing me for breach of contract and theft of trade secrets. She claimed I violated a non-compete agreement and was stealing clients, damaging her business. She was demanding $200,000 in damages. I read it twice, then a third time. Non-compete agreement? I never signed any non-compete agreement. Paul called me into his office. His face was grim. What's this about, Quincy? I don't know. I never signed a non-compete. Are you sure? Nothing in all those years? I tried to remember. All the paperwork over the years, the routine documents my parents had me sign for insurance, for permits, for various business needs. I had trusted them completely. I had signed whatever they put in front of me. I need to call a lawyer. You do that. But Quincy, I need to be straight with you. I can't afford a lawsuit. If your sister is serious about this, if there's any validity to it, I have to protect my business. Paul, I would never put you in that position. Let me figure this out. I left work early and drove to see Marcus Thompson, a lawyer a friend recommended. His office was small but professional. He read through the lawsuit papers carefully. This is aggressive. Your sister is not playing around. Is the non-compete real? He pulled out a document attached to the filing. There it was. My signature from 2 years ago on a document buried in what I thought was routine equipment lease paperwork. The non-compete clause was clear. I could not work at any competing auto repair business within 50 miles for 3 years after leaving Harrison Auto. How did I not see this? It's buried in paragraph 7 of a 12-page document. Someone hid it deliberately. My parents. They had me sign this 2 years ago. They were planning this even then. Marcus leaned back in his chair. The question is whether this non-compete is enforceable. You weren't an owner. You were an employee. Some courts strike these down as too broad, but some uphold them, especially in cases involving specialized skills and client relationships. What are my options? Fight it. But litigation will cost you $30,000 to $40,000 minimum, maybe more if it drags out. I felt sick. I don't have that kind of money. Then we negotiate a settlement. Try to get the non-compete lifted or limited in exchange for dropping the damages claim. And if Amanda won't negotiate, then you're looking at either paying to fight it and risking losing, or complying with the non-compete and not working in your field for 3 years. I left his office in a daze. This was calculated. This was planned. Amanda had not just taken the business. She was destroying my ability to work anywhere else. The next day, Paul called me into his office again. Quincy, I got a letter from your sister's lawyer. They're threatening to sue me too if I keep employing you. I'm sorry, but I can't take that risk. I have to let you go. I nodded. I understood. It was not his fault. I appreciate the opportunity, Paul. For what it's worth, this is wrong. What they're doing to you is wrong. But I have a family, a business. I can't fight someone else's legal battle. I cleaned out my toolbox and left. 3 weeks of hope, gone. That night, I tried calling my parents again. They still would not answer. I drove to Harrison Auto. The shop looked different already. A new flashy sign hung out front, bright colors and modern fonts. Fresh paint covered the brick exterior. I parked across the street and watched. Through the windows, I could see my former mechanics working. They looked miserable. One of them, Danny Garcia, saw me and shook his head sadly. Amanda's car was parked right in front. A new BMW. She was spending money already. I wanted to go in, to confront her, to demand answers. But what would that accomplish? She had already won. I drove away before I did something I would regret. Marcus called a few days later. I reached out to your sister's attorney. They're willing to negotiate, but their opening position is harsh. They want you to sign an affidavit, admitting you violated the non-compete, pay $50,000 in damages, and stay away from the industry for 5 years. 5 years? The original agreement said 3. They're escalating. This is a pressure tactic. My savings account had $11,000. After first and last month's rent on my apartment, I was almost broke. I had no job, no prospects, and a legal nightmare hanging over my head. I had solved the first problem by getting a new job, but that solution had triggered an even bigger crisis that threatened to end my career permanently. 3 months crawled by. I took a job in construction, doing manual labor for $15 an hour. It was honest work, but it was not my work. Every morning I woke up sore, my hands blistered, my body aching. Every night I fell into bed exhausted, dreaming about tools and engines and the life I used to have. Marcus was still negotiating with Amanda's lawyers, but the legal fees were piling up. I had already paid him $8,000, money I did not have, borrowed from a high-interest credit card. Then I started hearing things. Rumors from the automotive community. Harrison Auto was struggling. My former colleague, Danny Garcia, called me one night. "Quincy, I had to reach out. I know you're dealing with legal stuff, but I thought you should know what's happening here." "What's going on, Danny?" "It's a disaster, man. Amanda fired Rick and Jose in the first month. Just fired them. Said they were too loyal to you, that she needed people who supported her vision. Rick and Jose were two of my best mechanics. I had trained them both personally. Why would she fire them? She's paranoid. She brought in her boyfriend to be operations manager, guy named Travis Palmer. Quincy, this dude knows nothing about cars. Nothing. He was managing a cell phone store before this." "You're kidding." "I wish I was." "He walks around with a clipboard, timing how long we take on jobs. Amanda cut diagnostic time in half, says we're being inefficient. We're rushing everything now, and we're making mistakes. Customers are complaining left and right. That's insane. Diagnostics take as long as they take. Tell her that." She implemented all these efficiency metrics that make no sense, and she raised prices by 30% across the board. I felt a sick sense of vindication mixed with horror. I had known Amanda would fail, but hearing it confirmed was different. "How bad is it really?" "We're losing customers every day. Mrs. Henderson came in last week, same lady you took care of for years. Amanda quoted her $900 for a service you used to do for $300. Mrs. Henderson walked out and left a 1-star review online. Over the next few weeks, I watched from a distance as Harrison Auto's reputation crumbled. The online reviews were brutal. Rude staff, outrageous prices, terrible work. They broke more than they fixed. Go somewhere else. This place used to be great under the previous management. Now it's a joke. Amanda responded to the negative reviews personally, and her responses made everything worse. She attacked customers, called them liars, threatened legal action against anyone who mentioned my name. Then she started posting on social media, long rants about how I had sabotaged the business before leaving. She claimed I deleted customer records, damaged equipment, poisoned the staff against her. All lies, every word, but she said it with such conviction that some people started believing her. Former colleagues stopped returning my calls. People I had known for years suddenly acted like I did not exist. The lies were spreading, infecting my reputation throughout the local automotive community. I tried to defend myself, but what could I say? I was in the middle of a lawsuit. My lawyer told me to stay quiet, to not engage. So I watched silently as my reputation was destroyed. The construction job barely covered my bills. Rent, utilities, food, legal fees. I was living on ramen and peanut butter sandwiches, cutting every corner I could. My savings were gone. I was working 14-hour days just to survive, and I was still falling behind. Marcus called with an update. "The judge is leaning toward enforcing the non-compete." "I'm sorry, Quincy. The precedent in this district is not good for us. Unless we can prove the agreement was signed under duress or fraud, it's likely to stand." "What does that mean?" "It means you can't work at any auto repair shop within 50 miles for the next 3 years. You're effectively barred from your profession." 3 years. 3 years of my life, my career, put on hold because of a document I signed without reading, trusting my parents completely. What about the damages claim? They're still demanding $200,000. We might be able to negotiate that down, but you're looking at paying something, probably in the range of $50,000 to $75,000. Money I absolutely did not have. I saw my father once during this time, at a grocery store. I was buying the cheapest pasta I could find, counting every dollar. He was in the produce section, looking at organic vegetables. Our eyes met across the aisle. I waited for him to come over, to say something, to acknowledge what was happening. He turned away and walked in the opposite direction, pretended he did not see me. That hurt worse than any of the rest. Amanda kept calling my former clients, accusing them of disloyalty, threatening to refuse service to anyone who spoke to me. She was burning every bridge, destroying every relationship I had built, and she was doing it in my name. The automotive community in our area was tight-knit. Word spread fast. Between the lawsuit, Amanda's accusations, and my inability to defend myself, I became toxic. Nobody would hire me, even outside the 50-mile radius. I was blacklisted. I tried applying to shops in other towns, other counties. As soon as they heard my name and did a basic internet search, they found Amanda's accusations. They saw the lawsuit. They wanted nothing to do with me. I was trapped. Unable to work in my field, unable to clear my name, unable to fight back. Every attempt to solve my problems only made things worse. Construction work was all I had. Hauling lumber, mixing concrete, digging foundations. My hands, which used to perform delicate engine repairs, were now covered in calluses and cuts. My back ached constantly. I was 29 years old, and I felt 50. Late at night, alone in my cheap apartment, I would lie awake wondering how it had all gone so wrong. I had done everything right. I had worked hard, built something real, treated people fairly, and I had lost everything because I trusted the wrong people. The worst part was not the money or the career. It was the betrayal. The knowledge that my own parents had chosen my manipulative sister over me, had believed her lies without question, had sacrificed me to appease her, and there was no way out. Every door I tried to open led to a wall. Every solution created a new problem. I was in freefall, and there was no bottom in sight. 6 months into my nightmare, the judge ruled. The non-compete was enforceable. Marcus called to deliver the news. "I'm sorry, Quincy. The judge found that the agreement was valid, that you signed it voluntarily, and that the restrictions are reasonable given the competitive nature of the industry." Reasonable? How is destroying someone's career reasonable? The judge also ordered you to pay $75,000 in damages to your sister for violating the non-compete by working at Davidson Motors. I sat down hard. $75,000. I did not have $75 in my checking account. What if I can't pay? They can garnish your wages, put liens on any property you own, destroy your credit. Amanda's lawyer is aggressive. They will pursue every option. I don't own anything. I rent my apartment. My truck is 15 years old and barely worth $3,000. Then they'll garnish your wages. 25% of every paycheck until it's paid off. I did the math in my head. At $15 an hour, working construction 40 hours a week, I was making about $2,000 a month before taxes. After taxes, maybe $1,500. 25% of that was $375 a month. At that rate, it would take me 16 years to pay off $75,000. 16 years. "There's another option," Marcus said quietly. "Bankruptcy. If I declare bankruptcy, I'll never recover. I'll never get a loan, never get a mortgage, never build anything." "You're not building anything right now, Quincy. You're drowning." He was right, but I could not accept it. Bankruptcy felt like admitting defeat, like letting them win completely. "Let me think about it." Before I could make a decision, Amanda made another move. Harrison Auto filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The business was failing completely. According to the public filing, they had less than $30,000 in assets and over $300,000 in debts. But there was a twist that made my blood run cold. In the bankruptcy filing, Amanda listed me as a creditor. She claimed I owed the business $120,000 for unauthorized equipment use and client poaching. $120,000. A completely fabricated number, but it was in a legal document now. Marcus explained what this meant. She's trying to protect herself. By listing you as someone who owes money to the bankrupt business, she's creating a legal shield. If you try to sue her later for damages, this bankruptcy filing creates a paper trail showing you as a debtor, not a victim. This is fraud, probably, but proving it will cost more money you don't have. The bankruptcy designation destroyed my credit score overnight. It dropped from a respectable 680 to 415 in a single day. Credit card companies sent me default notices. My car insurance premium doubled. My landlord called, concerned about whether I could make rent. I was marked as someone involved in a business bankruptcy, someone with massive debt, someone unreliable. On paper, I looked like a disaster. Then Lauren left me. We had been together for 3 years. She was a teacher at the local elementary school, practical and steady. I thought she understood what I was going through. She came over on a Thursday evening, and I knew from her face what was about to happen. Quincy, I can't do this anymore. Can't do what? This. Us. All of it. You're consumed by what happened with your family. Every conversation is about the business, the lawsuit, how unfair everything is. You're drowning, and I can't breathe either. I'm trying to survive, Lauren. I'm dealing with the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I know, and I'm sorry. I really am. But you need to let it go. You need to move on and rebuild. Instead, you're stuck in this place of anger and bitterness. They destroyed my life. How am I supposed to just let that go? By choosing to. By deciding that your future matters more than your past. But you're not doing that. You're working yourself to death. You're stressed constantly, and you're too damaged to be in a relationship right now. The word damaged hit me like a slap. So that's it? 3 years together, and you're just done? I love you, Quincy, but I can't save you. You have to save yourself. And right now, you're not even trying. You're just surviving, and I need more than that. She left. I stood in my empty apartment, surrounded by cheap furniture and unpacked boxes, and I felt more alone than I ever had in my life. I took a second job delivering food at night. After my construction shift ended at 5, I would drive for food delivery apps until midnight or 1 in the morning, 7 days a week. 20-hour days became normal. I was so tired I could barely see straight. I was drinking 6 cups of coffee a day just to stay awake. My hands shook. My vision blurred. I was falling apart. But I could not stop, because the moment I stopped, the bills would bury me. One night, driving back from a delivery at 11:45, I fell asleep at the wheel. Just for a second, maybe 2. But it was enough. I woke up to the sound of crunching metal. My truck had drifted into a utility pole. The front end was smashed. The airbag had deployed, and my face was bleeding from where my nose hit the steering wheel. The police came. The ambulance came. I was lucky, they said. No serious injuries, just a broken nose and some bruises. My truck was totaled. 15 years old, worth maybe $3,000. But it was all I had. Insurance covered some of it, but my rates had already skyrocketed because of my credit score. The payout was barely enough to buy another vehicle. I ended up with a 20-year-old sedan that rattled when it hit 40 miles per hour. My health started declining. I developed insomnia. Even when I was exhausted, I could not sleep. I would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through everything that had gone wrong. When I did sleep, I had nightmares. My doctor prescribed medication for anxiety, but I could not afford it. The copay was $40, and I needed that $40 for food. I started losing weight. Not from dieting, but from not eating enough. I was down to 2 meals a day, sometimes 1. Cheap food, fast food, whatever I could afford. My apartment lease ended, and the landlord would not renew. My credit was too bad. I had to move into a studio apartment in a dangerous neighborhood, the only place that would accept me. Gunshots at night, sirens constantly, broken glass in the parking lot. I was 30 years old, working 2 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night, living in a place I was afraid to walk to after dark. My parents still would not talk to me. I tried calling one more time, desperate for any kind of connection, any acknowledgement that I was their son, and this was killing me. My mother answered, "Mom, please, I just need to know you care. That's all." "Quincy, your sister is very upset. She says you're threatening her." "What? I haven't even spoken to her." "She's afraid of you." We had to look into getting a restraining order. "A restraining order?" "Mom, she's lying. Everything she's told you is a lie. I can't talk about this. We need to protect Amanda." She hung up. They were protecting Amanda, the daughter who had destroyed a successful business, who had lied and manipulated and stolen. They were protecting her from me, the son who had built everything they had. I sat on the floor of my terrible apartment, surrounded by the wreckage of my life, and I finally understood. There was no winning this. There was no justice. There was just survival, one brutal day at a time. Every solution I tried led to a worse problem. Every door I opened led to a wall. I was trapped in a maze with no exit, and the walls were closing in. 9 months after that text message that changed everything, Harrison Auto shut down permanently. I heard about it from Danny Garcia. He called me late on a Tuesday night. "It's over, man." She closed the shop. "We all got laid off today. No notice, no severance, just locked the doors and told us not to come back." What happened? Everything fell apart. We were down to maybe 15 customers a week. Nobody trusted us anymore. Amanda stopped paying suppliers months ago. They cut us off. We couldn't get parts. We couldn't do the work. It was a death spiral. Where's Amanda now? Gone. She and Travis disappeared, cleaned out the bank accounts and left town. Nobody knows where they went. I drove past the shop the next day. Yellow auction notices were taped to the windows. The equipment was being sold off. I could see my old toolboxes through the window, the ones I had to leave behind, sitting in a corner waiting to be auctioned. The building looked dead. 9 months, from thriving business to abandoned shell. Marcus called a few days later. "The bankruptcy trustee is investigating your sister for fraud. Looks like she drained the business accounts in the final weeks. Sold equipment to friends for pennies on the dollar. Transferred over $60,000 to personal accounts, claiming it was back salary. Can they do anything about it? They're trying to find her. She left the state. Might have left the country for all we know. The boyfriend went with her. The remaining mechanics scattered. Danny found work 2 towns over. The others just disappeared into other jobs, other lives. The supplier companies were stuck with unpaid invoices totaling over $150,000. Customers who had prepaid for work lost their money. The whole thing was a complete disaster that rippled out and hurt dozens of people. Then my phone rang. A number I recognized. My mother. My hand shook as I answered. "Hello? Quincy." Her voice was wrecked, hoarse from crying. "We need help. Where have you been?" "I've been calling for months. Please, just listen. We're in trouble. Serious trouble." "What kind of trouble?" She broke down sobbing. I could hear my father in the background, his voice tight with panic. "The bank is foreclosing on our house. We're going to lose everything." I closed my eyes. "How?" "Amanda had us co-sign a business loan, $200,000. She said it was for expansion. She promised she would pay it back. The loan is in default. The bank is taking our house." "When did you sign this?" 6 months ago. She said the business needed capital. She showed us plans, projections. We believed her. Of course they did. They believed everything she said. There's more. My father's voice came on, shaky and old. She had power of attorney for our accounts. To help with business finances, she said. She took money from our retirement fund, $50,000. It's gone. I sat down on my threadbare couch. My parents were 67 and 64 years old. They had planned to retire in that house. Now they were losing everything. Where is Amanda? We don't know. She won't answer our calls. We think she's in Arizona, but we're not sure. Have you talked to the police? They say it's a civil matter. Everything was legal. We signed the documents. We gave her the power of attorney. We can't prove she meant to defraud us. My mother took the phone back. Quincy, you have to help us. You're the only one who can save us. The irony was so thick I could barely breathe. 9 months ago, they chose Amanda over me. They gave her my business, believed her lies, refused to hear my side. Now that she had destroyed everything and disappeared, they were calling me. How exactly am I supposed to help you? You know the business. You could restart it. Buy the property from the bank, rebuild. You're the only one who knows how. Mom, I'm working construction 14 hours a day. I'm living in a studio apartment in the worst part of town. I have $75,000 in debt from a lawsuit your daughter filed against me. My credit is destroyed. I have nothing. But you have the knowledge. You have the relationships. You could do it. Why would I? Silence. Because we're your parents, my father said. You were my parents 9 months ago, too. Where were you then? We made a mistake, my mother whispered. We see that now. Amanda lied to us. She manipulated us. We should have believed you. Yes, you should have. Please, Quincy. We're going to be homeless. We're too old to start over. We have no savings, no retirement, nothing. The bank is taking the house in 45 days. I thought about them losing their home. I thought about them working into their 70s just to survive. Part of me felt horrible, felt guilty for even considering turning away. But another part of me remembered my father walking away from me in that grocery store. My mother saying they had to protect Amanda. 9 months of being treated like I did not exist. I need to think about it. Please don't take too long. We're desperate. I'll call you in a few days. I hung up and sat in the dark. My parents were calling me after months of silence, not because they realized what they had done to me, but because Amanda had finally hurt them too. They did not come to me with apologies. They came with demands, but they were still my parents. They were old, vulnerable, and about to lose everything. I had no idea what to do. I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop on Saturday morning. Neutral territory. I had not seen them in person since that terrible day in their kitchen. They looked destroyed. My mother had lost maybe 20 pounds. My father's hands shook as he held his coffee cup. They had aged a decade in 9 months. We sat at a corner table. The coffee shop was busy, people laughing and talking around us, completely unaware of the wreckage at our table. Tell me everything, I said. My father pulled out documents. Bank statements, foreclosure notices, loan papers. The full picture was even worse than they had described on the phone. The house would be gone in 40 days. They had already stopped making payments because they could not afford them. Their credit was ruined. They had no income except Social Security, which was barely $1,800 a month combined. We can't afford to rent an apartment, my mother said. Not with our credit and not on Social Security. We'll be homeless. I looked at the documents, the loan papers with their signatures, the power of attorney form they had signed, giving Amanda complete control of their retirement accounts. It was all legal, all binding, all catastrophic. Why did you give her the business? I asked. Tell me the truth. All of it. My mother looked at my father. He nodded. Amanda has 2 children, my mother began. Emma and Jacob. They're 7 and 5 now. I knew about my niece and nephew. I had barely seen them over the years. Amanda kept them away from family most of the time. We're their grandparents, my mother continued. They're everything to us. Okay, 2 years ago, Amanda said she wanted to move to California. She said she had a job opportunity there. She said if we didn't support her dreams, if we didn't help her, she would take the kids and we would never see them again. My father's hands tightened on his coffee cup. She meant it, Quincy. She would have done it. She's done it before, cut people off completely. So you gave her the business to keep her close? She wanted it, my mother said. She had been asking for years. She said she deserved it, that she needed the opportunity, that we were playing favorites by letting you run everything. She threatened to disappear with your grandchildren if you didn't give her what she wanted. Yes, I sat back. And you didn't think to tell me any of this? We thought we could make it work, my father said. We thought maybe she was right. Maybe she just needed a chance. We thought you would understand eventually. Understand? Dad, I built that business. 8 years of my life. We know, son. But you don't have children. You don't understand what it's like to be threatened with losing your grandchildren. The justification made me furious. So you sacrificed me to appease her? We thought you would be fine, my mother said. You're capable, smart, talented. We thought you would land on your feet. While I was working 60-hour weeks, you were planning to give away everything I built, and you didn't tell me because you thought I would be fine. It sounds terrible when you say it like that, my father said. It is terrible. You weren't deceived. You were cowards. You knew exactly what you were doing. My mother started crying. Other people in the coffee shop were looking at us now. We're sorry, she sobbed. We're so sorry. We made a terrible mistake. Amanda is a manipulator. She always has been. We knew it, but we couldn't stand up to her. I thought about the past 9 months. The betrayal, the lawsuit, the destroyed career, the poverty, the exhaustion, the loneliness. All of it because my parents chose the path of least resistance. Where are Emma and Jacob now? I asked. We don't know. Amanda took them when she left. She won't tell us where they are. So they had sacrificed me for nothing. They had given Amanda everything she wanted, and she still took the grandchildren away. She had played them perfectly, and they had let it happen. What do you want from me? We need you to restart the business, my father said. Buy the property, rebuild the shop. You could do it. We know you could. I had been thinking about this for days. I had made some calls, done some research. There was a potential path forward, but it required saying things I was not sure I could say. I talked to Gregory Walsh, I said. Their eyes widened. Walsh was a former client, a successful businessman who owned several properties and businesses around town. He remembers me. He respects my work. He's interested in investing in a new auto repair venture. That's wonderful, my mother said. I could potentially buy the property from the bank at auction. Walsh would provide capital. We would start a new shop, completely separate from Harrison Auto. It would take years to rebuild, but it's possible. My father leaned forward. You could save us. I could give you a place to live. An apartment above the shop, maybe. A small income from working part-time. Nothing fancy, but you wouldn't be homeless. Yes, my mother said. Yes, that's all we need. I looked at them. These people who had given me life, who had raised me, who had taught me how to fix cars in our driveway when I was 12 years old. These people who had also betrayed me, lied to me, chosen my sister over me, and refused to speak to me for 9 months. I could do all of that, I said slowly, but I won't. The hope drained from their faces. What? My mother whispered. You made your choice. You chose Amanda. You sacrificed me deliberately, knowingly. You weren't deceived. You were cowards who took the easy path. Quincy, please, my father said. You abandoned me for 9 months. You believed her lies. You wouldn't even look at me in the grocery store. And now that she's destroyed everything and left you with nothing, you come to me? We're your parents, my mother said. You can't abandon us. You abandoned me first. Amanda is your family. Go ask her for help. I stood up to leave. My mother grabbed my hand, her grip desperate. "Please, we're sorry. We'll do anything. Don't leave us like this." "You left me exactly like this. Worse, actually. At least you have each other." My father started crying, something I had never seen in my life. "We're your parents. Family is family. You have to help us." "No," I said. "I don't." I pulled my hand free and walked out. My mother's cries followed me through the parking lot. I could hear her screaming my name, begging me to come back. I got in my rattling old sedan and drove away. My phone started ringing immediately. I blocked their numbers. That night, sitting in my terrible apartment, I felt simultaneously awful and liberated. I had just condemned my elderly parents to potential homelessness, but I had also finally stood up for myself, finally said no to people who had used and discarded me. The guilt was crushing, but the freedom was real. I called Gregory Walsh the next morning. "Quincy, good to hear from you. Have you thought more about the business proposal?" "I have." "Are you still interested?" "Absolutely. I've been watching that property. It's going to auction in 3 weeks. I think we can get it for a good price, and with your expertise, we could build something solid." "I want to do it. But I have conditions." "Let's hear them." "I want 49% ownership. You have 51%. I run the daily operations completely. I hire the staff. I make the decisions about the business." "That's reasonable. What else?" "My family is not involved. At all. No exceptions." There was a pause. "I heard about what happened with your sister." "Understood. This is your business, your rules. When can we start?" "I'll have my lawyer draft papers. We can move fast on this." I hung up and sat in the silence. I was rebuilding. Without my parents, without Amanda, alone, but finally on my own terms. The guilt would probably never go away completely, but neither would the memory of my father walking away from me, or my mother saying they had to protect Amanda. Some bridges burn for a reason. 18 months later, I stood in my shop at 7 in the morning, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise through the bay doors. Walsh Auto Works was everything I had hoped it could be. The shop was smaller than Harrison Auto had been, just 4 bays instead of 6, but every piece of equipment was mine. Well, 49% mine, but it felt like mine. Gregory Walsh had been a perfect partner. He provided the capital, handled the business side, and trusted me completely with operations. The property had gone to auction, and we got it for 30% less than market value. The old Harrison Auto sign was gone, replaced with clean, professional lettering. I hired back 3 of my original mechanics. Danny Garcia was my shop manager now. We rebuilt slowly, carefully, focusing on quality over quantity. Word spread through the old network. Clients started returning. Mrs. Henderson brought her sedan in for service, hugged me in the parking lot, told everyone she knew that I was back. The Campbell family, the Rodriguez family, the Torres family, one by one, they found me again. My credit was slowly recovering. The bankruptcy mark was still there, but I was paying my bills on time, rebuilding my score point by point. I had moved to a decent apartment in a safe neighborhood. I bought a reliable truck, nothing fancy, but it did not rattle. I was dating someone new. Rachel Cooper owned a small bookstore downtown. She was smart, kind, and patient. I told her everything on our 3rd date, the whole terrible story. She listened, without judgment. "You survived," she said. "That's not nothing. Sometimes I'm not sure I did the right thing. With my parents, you did what you needed to do to survive. That's not wrong. It's human. My life was not perfect, but it was mine. I worked hard, came home to a place I was not ashamed of, spent time with someone who made me laugh. Small victories, but after everything, they felt enormous." Then Marcus Thompson called on a Tuesday afternoon. "Quincy, I have news. The bankruptcy trustee finished their investigation, and Amanda committed fraud. multiple counts. They found evidence she systematically drained the business accounts, sold assets to friends for almost nothing, and transferred money to offshore accounts. The FBI is involved now. The FBI? She crossed state lines, which makes it federal. They arrested her in Arizona, her boyfriend too. They're both facing criminal charges. I sat down at my desk. What kind of charges? Wire fraud, bankruptcy fraud, theft. She's looking at 3 to 5 years in federal prison if convicted. The boyfriend might get 2 to 3. Justice. After 18 months. Actual justice. There's more, Marcus said. The trustee recovered some of the stolen funds. Not all of it, but about $80,000. You're entitled to a settlement from the bankruptcy estate. About $12,000. $12,000. Not enough to make up for anything, but something. A small acknowledgement that what happened to me was wrong. What about my parents? They're not getting much. Maybe $3,000. Most of the recovered funds go to the suppliers and creditors who got scammed. I thanked Marcus and hung up. Amanda was going to prison. The thought should have made me happy, but instead I just felt empty. Justice did not undo the damage. It did not give me back the 1.5 years of hell I had lived through. But it was something. I did not call my parents to tell them. I had not spoken to them since that day in the coffee shop. But they found out anyway. 3 days later, my mother walked into Walsh Auto Works. I was under a car, replacing brake pads, when Danny came to get me. "Quincy, your mom is here." I rolled out from under the car, wiped my hands on a rag. She stood near the entrance, looking small and uncertain. I walked over. We stood there, not speaking, for a long moment. "I heard about Amanda," she said finally. "Yeah, we lost the house. We're living in a retirement mobile home park now. It's not much, but it's something. I'm sorry. Your father works part-time at a hardware store. I clean houses 3 days a week. We're getting by." I nodded. I wanted to say something. Not to ask for anything. Just to say it. "Okay, we were wrong. About everything. We chose Amanda because we were afraid of her, and we sacrificed you because we thought you were strong enough to handle it. That was selfish and cruel. We destroyed your life because we were cowards." The apology was real this time. No justifications, no excuses. "We don't expect forgiveness," she continued. "But I wanted you to know that we finally understand what we did. Your father wrote you a letter. I'll leave it at the desk." She turned to leave. "Mom," she stopped. "Next Sunday, Rachel is making dinner at my place. 6 o'clock. You and Dad can come if you want. Just dinner. That's all I'm offering." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I'm not promising anything. One dinner. We'll see how it goes. We'll be there." She left the letter with Danny and walked out. I did not read it until that night. It was 3 pages of my father's neat handwriting, taking responsibility for everything, apologizing without reservation, saying he understood if I never wanted to see them again. I put the letter in a drawer and did not respond. Sunday came. Rachel cooked pot roast, my mother's recipe that she somehow remembered. My parents arrived at exactly 6 o'clock, dressed nicely, carrying a small plant as a gift. Dinner was awkward. We talked about safe things, the weather, the shop, Rachel's bookstore. Nothing about Amanda, nothing about the past, just the present tentative and fragile. They left at 8. No hugs, no declarations, just quiet goodbyes. "That was brave," Rachel said after they left. "I don't know if it was brave or stupid. Maybe both." The next week, Gregory called me into his office. "I've been thinking about expansion. The business is doing well. I want to open a second location, maybe in the next town over. You would manage both shops, and I'd increase your ownership stake to 51%. 51%. Majority ownership. My business." "Yes," I said. My career was back. My life was rebuilding. The relationships were complicated, maybe permanently damaged, but there was a path forward. I had learned things I wished I never had to learn. That family can betray you as deeply as strangers. That trust is dangerous. That sometimes the people who should protect you will sacrifice you instead. But I also learned that you can lose everything and still rebuild. That self-respect matters more than obligation. That walking away from toxicity is strength, not weakness. That forgiveness is a choice, not a requirement. Justice came slowly, but it came. Amanda went to prison. My parents faced consequences. I rebuilt from nothing. Some bridges stayed burned. My relationship with my parents would never be what it was. Maybe that was okay. Maybe some things should not be rebuilt exactly as they were. I stood in my shop late one evening, after everyone had gone home. The tools were organized, the bays were clean, the schedule was full. Everything I built once, I built again. Better this time, because it was truly mine. I thought about Amanda in prison. I felt neither satisfaction nor guilt, just acceptance. She made her choices. I made mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "Movie tomorrow night?" I smiled and replied yes. Tomorrow was another day of work. Another day of my life. The life I chose. The life I earned. And that was enough. I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from family to save yourself? Have you ever faced a choice between loyalty and self-respect? It's one of the hardest decisions anyone can make. Leave a comment below and share your story. Your experience might help someone else who's facing a similar situation. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming betrayal and rebuilding from rock bottom. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it's possible to survive the impossible. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. Take care of yourselves out there, and I'll see you in the next one.